Welcome to my channel. Subscribe and enjoy daily stories about cheating, revenge, and relationship advice. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the driveway as I pulled into our suburban home. The sound of the Cessna's engine, still ringing in my ears, felt oddly out of place against the usual quiet of our neighborhood. I had finished up the repairs earlier than expected, so I figured I'd surprise Lisa. Maybe we could have an early dinner or just spend some time together before the weekend. The house looked different as I approached, darker than usual, with only the faint glow of a lamp visible through the upstairs window. Strange, I thought, considering it was still early. As I unlocked the front door and stepped inside, I called out, "Lisa. You here?" No response. The silence was heavy, almost oppressive. I moved through the hallway, the creak of the floorboards under my boots sounding unusually loud. It was then that I heard it, distant but unmistakable, the shuffling and rustling of someone hurriedly moving around. Curiosity piqued, I headed upstairs. The sound was coming from our bedroom. I pushed the door open and was met with an unexpected sight. Lisa, with her back turned to me, was frantically packing a suitcase. Clothes and personal items were strewn across the bed and floor. Her movements were swift and erratic, as if she was trying to finish before I caught her. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my tone light, "what's going on?" "I thought I'd come home early and see if we could do something together." Lisa's shoulders tensed at the sound of my voice. She froze for a moment before turning to face me, her face masked in a forced smile. "Alex, you're home early. I didn't expect you until later." I took in her disheveled appearance, the suitcase half-packed with clothes hastily folded. "Looks like you're preparing for a trip. Where are you headed?" Her eyes flickered to the open suitcase, then back to me. "It's just a little getaway with the girls. We planned it last minute." "Just a getaway?" I raised an eyebrow. "I didn't realize you were planning something like this." Lisa's hand trembled slightly as she zipped up the suitcase. "It's nothing, really. Just a chance to unwind. I didn't think it would be a big deal." I said, moving closer. My gaze fell on an email confirmation poking out from the side pocket of the suitcase. "Who's Richard?" Lisa's face went pale, her composure cracking. "What? Richard?" "Yeah, Richard," I said, pulling the email from the suitcase. "This confirmation is for 2 rooms at a hotel this weekend, and it's addressed to someone named Richard Owens. Care to explain?" Lisa's eyes darted around the room, searching for an escape route. "Alex, it's not what it looks like." I could feel my anger rising, the betrayal cutting deeper with every passing second. "Not what it looks like? Then what exactly is it?" "I didn't want you to find out this way," she said, her voice wavering. "I was going to tell you. Telling me now doesn't change the fact that you're planning to leave with another man," I shot back. "What's going on, Lisa?" Before she could respond, my eyes caught a glimpse of something else in the suitcase, an alarming number of condoms, packed with the same urgency as her clothes. My stomach churned with a mix of anger and hurt. "And these? What were you planning with these, exactly?" Lisa's face turned a deep shade of red, her eyes filled with tears. "Alex, please. I didn't mean for it to happen this way." I was going to explain, but, "No," I said, cutting her off. "I don't want to hear any more excuses. I need to know what's really going on." Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a call from Mary Owens, Richard's wife. I answered with a sense of dread. "Hello, Alex, I'm so sorry to call you like this, but you need to know something important about Richard." Mary's voice came through, shaky but urgent. "He's been arrested." I glanced at Lisa, who was now visibly trembling. "Arrested? For what?" "Driving my car, but he told the police it was his," Mary explained. "They've charged him with theft among other things." "Richard's been lying about a lot of things, Alex." The news hit me like a ton of bricks. I looked back at Lisa, whose face had gone ashen. "Lisa, it looks like Richard's not even in town. So what's really going on here?" Lisa struggled to find words, but her silence was deafening. The enormity of the situation settled over us, making everything feel even more surreal. The confrontation had only just begun, and already it was clear that our lives would never be the same. The realization that something was fundamentally wrong was like a punch to the gut. I could barely process the news from Mary Owens before the weight of Lisa's betrayal settled heavily on my shoulders. As I stood in the bedroom, Lisa's suitcase still open, I felt a rush of confusion and anger. "Lisa, what is this?" I demanded, holding up the hotel reservation email and the stash of condoms. "You can't just brush this off." Lisa stood by the door, her eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. "Alex, save it," I interrupted. "I need to understand what's happening here." Lisa took a deep breath, trying to compose herself. "It's complicated." "Complicated?" I scoffed. "You were planning a weekend getaway with another man. That's not complicated, it's straightforward. You're having an affair." Lisa's face fell, her resolve crumbling. "Alex, please just listen. Richard and I." "Richard?" I cut her off again. "The same Richard who's supposed to be at a conference in Chicago?" Lisa nodded slowly, her eyes filled with tears. "Yes, but nothing," I said, my frustration boiling over. "You're caught in a lie, and now you're trying to justify it. How could you?" Lisa opened her mouth, but no words came out. She looked at the floor, her shoulders shaking. "I didn't want it to come to this. I should have told you the truth." I shook my head, feeling a mix of pity and anger. "So you were going to spend the weekend with Richard, pretending everything was fine at home?" "I wasn't thinking clearly," Lisa admitted, her voice breaking. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I also didn't know how to stop what was happening." "You didn't know how to stop?" I echoed, incredulous. "You were just going to go through with it and hope I didn't find out." "I was afraid," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Afraid of losing you, afraid of facing what I'd done." The raw honesty of her words hit me, but it didn't lessen the pain. "So you thought lying and sneaking around would fix things?" She swallowed hard. "I was trying to escape, to find something that I felt was missing." As she spoke, I felt a sense of numbness settling in. The trust we had built over years was shattered, replaced by a cold reality that seemed impossible to ignore. My thoughts raced, searching for some semblance of clarity in the chaos. "I need to know more," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "If Richard isn't in town, who are you really planning to meet? And why the lies?" Lisa hesitated, then finally spoke. "I wasn't planning to meet anyone else. I was just caught up in the idea of escaping. I convinced myself that if I could just get away, things might somehow fix themselves. It was a terrible mistake." I stared at her, struggling to reconcile her words with the evidence in front of me. "And what about these?" I asked, holding up the condoms. "What was the plan here?" Lisa's face flushed with embarrassment. "I was trying to. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I thought if I had everything ready, it would make things easier. I wasn't thinking straight." I took a deep breath, trying to control the storm of emotions within me. "Lisa, I need to figure out what's next. This isn't just about you and Richard. It's about our entire life together. I need time to process this." Lisa nodded, her eyes pleading. "I understand. Just, please try to understand that I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm sorry for everything." As she left the room, I felt a wave of despair wash over me. The discovery had opened a floodgate of questions and doubts. I was left alone with the remnants of our life together, struggling to make sense of the betrayal and what it meant for our future. Lisa's attempt at composure vanished as she slipped into an elegant dress, her earlier panic replaced by a facade of calm. The sight was almost surreal, her dressed up for a night out, as if nothing was wrong. I stood by the door, blocking her exit, the weight of our confrontation pressing heavily upon me. "Where do you think you're going?" I asked, my voice steady but tight with anger. Lisa's eyes widened, and she paused, her hand on the door handle. "Alex, please. I need to go." Go. I echoed, incredulous. Go where? After everything that's happened? You think you can just walk out like it's no big deal? Lisa's eyes were a mix of defiance and fear. I'm going to meet someone. I need to clear my head. Clear your head, I said, stepping closer, trying to keep my voice controlled despite the storm of emotions inside me. You've already made a mess of things. What more could you possibly need to figure out? She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. I could see the tension in her shoulders, the way her hands gripped the edge of her dress. It was clear that she was struggling to keep her composure. I grabbed her wrist gently but firmly. Lisa, you owe me an explanation. You owe us both that much. She looked at me, tears welling up in her eyes. Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to handle this. I was trying to escape the problems we were having. Escape? I repeated, my voice rising. You think running away and lying about it is going to solve anything? What was your plan, Lisa? To just pretend everything was fine? Lisa's voice cracked as she spoke. I didn't mean for it to get this far. I thought if I could just get away for a while, I could figure things out. Figure things out? I snapped. So, your solution to our problems was to have an affair and lie about it? You didn't even consider the damage this would do. Before Lisa could answer, my phone rang again. I fished it out of my pocket and saw that it was Mary Owens, Richard's wife. My heart sank as I answered. Mary, Alex, Mary's voice was strained and filled with urgency. I need to update you on something important. Richard's been arrested for more than just theft. There are additional charges related to fraud. He's in serious trouble. Lisa's face went white as she heard Mary's voice through the phone. She stared at me with a mix of horror and resignation. Fraud? I repeated, trying to absorb the new information. So he's in deeper trouble than I thought. Yes, Mary confirmed. He's been lying about his finances and using his position to cover his tracks. I thought you should know, given the situation. Thanks for letting me know, I said, hanging up the phone. I turned to Lisa, who looked more distraught than ever. Lisa, this whole situation is a mess, I said, trying to keep my voice calm despite the chaos. Your affair with Richard, his criminal activities, it's all unraveling in a way I couldn't have imagined. Lisa's shoulders slumped, her eyes brimming with tears. I didn't know about the fraud. I was just trying to escape my own issues. I never wanted any of this. I need you to understand something, I said, my voice firmer now. What you've done has serious consequences, not just for us but for everyone involved. I need to think about what's best for me, for our family. Lisa nodded, her tears spilling over. I understand. I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant for any of this to happen. The gravity of the situation settled over us, heavy and unyielding. We stood in silence, the weight of the betrayal and the chaos it had caused hanging between us. As Lisa gathered her things and prepared to leave, I felt a pang of sadness mixed with relief. The confrontation had laid bare the reality of our situation. It was clear that our lives had changed irrevocably, and the path forward would be fraught with challenges. Goodbye, Alex, Lisa said softly, her voice trembling as she walked toward the door. Goodbye, Lisa, I replied, watching her leave. The door closed behind her with a finality that echoed through the empty house. I stood there for a long time, grappling with the enormity of what had just happened, the future uncertain and fraught with the echoes of a shattered trust. The days following Lisa's departure were a blur of legal meetings, strained interactions, and a constant feeling of being adrift. The house, once a place of comfort and familiarity, now felt hollow and unsettling. It was clear that the fallout from the affair was far from over. Lisa's parents, Harold and Carol, arrived a few days after the confrontation. I had called them, knowing they deserved to know what had transpired, especially considering how their daughter's actions had impacted the family. They showed up with worried expressions, their concern evident as they entered the house. Alex, Harold said as he stepped into the living room. His face was stern, and there was a sadness in his eyes. We heard a bit from Lisa, but she was so upset. We didn't get the full picture. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, I said, gesturing for them to sit. But Lisa's been involved in an affair with Richard Owens. He's in legal trouble too, arrested for theft and fraud. Carol's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Richard, Harold's expression hardened. I had no idea. Lisa never mentioned anything. I nodded, feeling the weight of their disappointment and concern. I didn't expect any of this either. It's been overwhelming. I've been trying to handle the fallout and make decisions about what comes next. Carol looked at me, her eyes filled with sympathy. Alex, I'm so sorry you're going through this. We never thought Lisa would be capable of something like this. It's hard to believe, I agreed. And it's not just the affair. The whole situation has turned into a mess with legal issues and public scrutiny. I don't know how to move forward. Harold leaned forward, his voice firm. Well, we need to do what's best for you and the kids. We'll support you however we can. I appreciated their support, but the reality of the situation was still sinking in. Thanks, Harold. I just wish it didn't have to be this way. It's affecting everyone. As the days passed, Lisa's job became a major topic of conversation. The scandal had spread, and her professional life was in jeopardy. News of the affair and Richard's legal troubles had become fodder for gossip, and Lisa's reputation took a significant hit. She was suspended from her job, and the uncertainty of her future added to her stress. One afternoon, as I was dealing with more paperwork and trying to manage the household, Lisa called. Her voice was strained and apologetic. Alex, I'm really struggling with everything. I'm going to lose my job. I don't know what to do. Lisa, I'm sorry you're going through this, I said, trying to remain calm. But you brought this on yourself. You need to face the consequences of your actions. I know, she replied, her voice breaking. I didn't realize how bad it would get. I never meant for any of this. I understand, I said. But we have to think about the kids too. They're struggling with everything that's happening. I know, Lisa said softly. I'm trying to be there for them. I want to make things right, but it feels like everything is falling apart. As the legal proceedings continued, Lisa's parents remained supportive, helping where they could. The financial and emotional strain was heavy, but their presence was a small comfort amidst the chaos. The kids were caught in the crossfire, their lives disrupted by the scandal. They had questions about why their family was falling apart and why their mother wasn't around as much. I tried to provide answers and maintain some semblance of normalcy, but it was a challenge. One evening, as I was tucking our youngest into bed, they looked up at me with worried eyes. Dad, is Mom coming back home? I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. Your mom is dealing with some big problems right now. She's trying to fix things, but it's going to take time. But will she be okay? They asked, their voice trembling. She's going to be okay, I said, though I wasn't sure myself. We're going to get through this together, okay? The uncertainty and pain of the situation were palpable, and it was clear that rebuilding would take time. The scandal had torn through our lives, and while the immediate fallout was settling, the long-term effects were still unfolding. The road ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: our family would need to find a way to move forward amidst the wreckage of the past.